Thank you all for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce Cheryl Parker. Cheryl is the founder of San Francisco's own Urban Explorer. In 1994, Ms. Parker received a Master's of Architecture and Master's of City Planning from UC Berkeley. For 6 years, Ms. Parker was a lecturer in the Landscape Architecture Department at UC Berkeley, teaching GIS-based 3D simulation for urban designers. In '99, Ms. Parker worked professionally as an urban designer, economic development specialist, city planner, and GIS web developer. The title of her talk today is Enhanced Flash-Based Local Portals to the Google Map. Now, this is going to be posted on YouTube, so any questions you may have that would be of a confidential nature, if you could take them offline, that would be great. Anyway, join me in welcoming Cheryl.
As Anne mentioned, I'm a city planner and urban designer. A couple of masters in architecture and city planning, worked several years as a professional city planner and urban designer, designing places and envisioning places with wonderful buildings, great streets, wonderful landscape architecture. But always in the back of my mind was troubled by, gosh, will they come? If we build it, will they come? And then the other question was, worse yet, if we build it, will they leave? Are we going to push people out by not understanding the interventions? So I took a sidetrack from that life and found myself a job at a nonprofit in the South of Market area in San Francisco, working as an economic development specialist, working directly with small businesses and with city planners to try to understand how people made decisions within that local context and how that local context became alive because of those decisions. I became involved in creating geographic information systems for local decision making. I called them living neighborhood maps at the time. Connecting city databases through an interface that then people could ask questions and create a community through their decisions. So small businesses could figure out where to locate, developers could figure out how to build, people could get educated on understanding the land uses and zoning so that then they could take an educated voice before the City Planning Commission and be able to influence their own future within their own community. During that time, I discovered I had a knack for computer programming. A couple of other cities around, and I should mention I didn't have a background in computer programming. I didn't even touch a computer in grad school. But because I started developing these GIS interfaces, a couple of cities around the Bay Area, Oakland and San Mateo, approached me and asked me if I would be able to develop a web-based GIS system, and this was back in '99, for their communities, for the purpose of doing economic development through localized decision making, put it out there for small developers and small businesses to understand their communities and then to locate within that context. I operated for years as kind of a boutique shop for cities, counties, nonprofits. The end users were small businesses and city planners, and developed these localized decision-making systems. During that time, because I have a strong background in graphic design, I became entranced with using Flash as a medium for delivering GIS through the web because it provided a much more interactive and user-friendly and dynamic interface for users. Serendipity introduced me to a man named Yosri Diab from Vancouver, British Columbia, who had a company called Geographs and a small product called GeoFlash. We discovered that we were doing similar things and very complementary things in terms of experimenting with Flash-based GIS systems. So we came to work together for a few years and developed a system using open source components, including MySQL, Apache, and PHP with a Flash interface. Again, Serendipity, during that period, Google and MapQuest and Yahoo all started to open the code base, the API, so that developers like me could start fiddling around with their code and seeing if they could make mashups or applications using that code. Because we were using, our system had a Flash interface, and we were serving up dynamically rendered vector maps that you could see through that were transparent or translucent, we realized we could put that on top of a Google map and in a sense create a portal to that Google map and create a kind of a super Google map. And so we realized we had something with this composite system, and we applied for a patent, provisional patent in 2006, and then the full utility patent in 2007. Through that, by applying for that patent and having a system which works with a national base map and then can serve up national data sets through that base map, this is enabling me to change my business model from that of a boutique shop to that of more of an on-demand services to be able to serve a lot more people for a lot less. So that jives with my mission, which is basically to make widely available tools for localized decision-making that are both sophisticated yet highly user-friendly. There's, according to the Small Business Administration, as of 2007, there's 25 million small businesses in the United States. Location is an important, is very important to many of the decisions that small businesses must make on a daily basis. So, for example, restaurateurs must search for local suppliers. Small developers search for places to build. Retailers decide where to locate based upon consumers. Nonprofits constantly need access to demographics about their local community. A full 60% of that 25 million actually do business in this way, in a local way. Interestingly, there's a surprising lack of accessible web-based tools for small businesses in order to search their locale for contextual information. In tandem with that, though, we now have a cohort that is becoming adults. Generation Y, they were raised on handheld devices and being connected to the internet. So there's an expectation among new small business owners to have these kinds of accessible web-based tools. So let's look at the types of options that are out there for small businesses. So a task that many small businesses perform on a daily basis is searching for prospects, searching for customers. So take this circle here as representative of the full universe of all small businesses. Now, if you said that you had a list of all those small businesses, all 25 million, you'd be wasting a lot of time because most of them wouldn't be your targets. So you want to query through that. And so, for instance, say that we are a telecom startup in Silicon Valley looking for customers that we can sell our voice over IP systems to. Our customers tend to be financial services businesses, small but rapidly growing. So we want to be able to find a way to generate a list where we can say, during the past 10 years, which local areas have had an increase in small businesses, cutting the pie down, and sales and financial services. We get a green wedge now. But still, that's still a lot of leads. So what we want to do is we want to focus to the point where we get this kind of golden triangle, the leads that are most valuable. Basically being able to ask, within these areas within this list of businesses can you show us which businesses have grown over time during the past 5 years? And if we're really lucky, we can ask, in which of these companies do we actually know someone? Those are the really high quality leads. So let's look at what are the options out there these days for a small business to ask those questions on the web. There are many very good databases out there. So for instance, Info USA, Dun & Bradstreet, Claritas, Hoover's, they all provide very good databases for generating leads. Unfortunately, they have interfaces that tend to be not quite as user-friendly. So you come to a list as a small business and you ask a question, fill out a page, another page, another page, another page, another page. And at the end of all of that, you're told that congratulations, you're paying by the record. You found 156 records, and by the way, your total is $133. Unfortunately, you can't view those results before paying, so you don't really know what you're getting, and you can't drill down or refine that query either. What you're getting right now is this green wedge, but you're not getting that magic golden triangle. In addition, after you do this, you then have to go through another 5 pages in order to pay. So look diagrammatically at the user experience. Have a question, you run a query, you get the result, 156 companies. Then you have to pay. Only after you pay can you view your records, can you analyze and use them, and then discover, oh, I probably need to ask some more questions and go through this experience again, which leads to a user who becomes a prisoner of their interface. It's not that the data is bad or the databases are bad. It's just the interface is prohibitive. Another option that's out there, and I put it up here because this isn't really an option for a small business. They wouldn't go this route in order to answer this question. But it is a type of system that puts a framework out there for doing web-based localized decision making. And this is Enterprise GIS, or Enterprise Geographic Information Systems. There's a couple of very big companies that are kind of the leaders in this. ESRI and MapInfo provide a whole variety of products along this line. The idea is providing a tabular database, spatial database, served up through servers to a variety of different applications and web services and browsers and clients. It's a pretty complicated system. The license is expensive. So on average, there's an annual $28,000 a year fee for paying for the license. Then on top of that, you have to either hire somebody like me to implement it and then develop the database and customize it, which I would charge probably around $50,000 and spend 6 months doing that, or have a trained staff to do that. So as a result, the markets are limited. It's limited to those kinds of agencies or organizations that have large databases of land and can afford to make this investment. Unfortunately, what happens is you start having a piecemeal of very defined and in-depth databases across a region or across the country, which exist within kind of arbitrary boundaries. Again, and you're, as a user, you're kind of a prisoner of these boundaries. So you make decisions based upon your economy, based upon, as a city planner, based upon the uses in your city, based upon what you know within that boundary, but it's not within the context of a whole region. Another example is what I call API mapping systems. I mean, it's the Microsoft Maps, MapQuest Maps, Yahoo Maps, and also, of course, the Google Map. These things all have something in common. They're free. They're ubiquitous. They offer points of interest, routing, address location. Also, they're becoming very important in terms of local search advertising. Each one of them provides a certain flavor. So for instance, Google's got this really cool street level view, and I just happened to be standing on that corner when I saw the Google truck drive by one day, and so now I am inside a Google map. So I really like Google Maps. Of course there are limits to this. It's not GIS, and it's not meant to be GIS. So not able to connect to local databases, can't perform spatial analyses, can't display polygons on a kind of thematic way or do thematic analyses, but that's okay. They're not meant to do that. Interestingly, though, they are now providing the option of customizing them. So, for instance, going to Google Maps, press on the My Maps button, you come to a page which allows users to add enhanced functionality to the Google Map, web widgets, or Google gadgets. In this specific sense, these are maplets. So we decide to add elevation contours to our map. We add it, we get the option of clicking on the button, we click on the button, and there we go. We have some elevation contours added to our Google Map. That's what we are. We are a web widget that provides enhanced functionality to the Google Map. So we have the national base map, could be Google, could be Yahoo, could be MapQuest. What we provide are a variety of different Flash portals with different enhanced functionality to that map that connect down through to databases. And so if we took this to the instance of small businesses, this could be applied to many markets, but to small businesses, this might look like this. So we have a portal for finding leads, one for analyzing customers, one for finding new locations, all connecting through to a variety of different databases that exist across time series databases. So for instance, business data, labor market data, consumer expenditures, lifestyle demographics. And in addition to that, given that these are web-based mashups, connecting to national web services such professional networking, conferencing logistics, traffic patterns. And these get distributed through Google Maplets, but on a broader sense, this works within the open social framework that Google pretty much announced last November, which basically there are a variety of partners that work with Google that enable people, developers like me, to upload our applications to be able to work within that framework of web services and databases to enhance functionality. It's basically passing around little applications made by developers like me, replacing, in a certain sense, the notion of purchasing a software and installing it on your computer. This is more along the lines of software as a service distribution model. So we complement something like Salesforce.com. I should say Salesforce.com and LinkedIn are both participants in this open social community. So they enable developers to create applications that sit on top of their platforms. So as of 2007, about 23% of all of those 25 million small businesses were using some sort of business intelligence software, like customer relations management, to help them in their decisions. Over the next 3 years, this is projected to grow to a full third of all of those small businesses. At the same time, LinkedIn, another of these participating partners, provides professional networking. They've been growing astronomically, over 300% in 1 year. Last I looked, there were 17 million users, but it seems like they go up by 1 million every week, so I'm not sure where they're at now. But as I mentioned, both of these work through that same kind of idea of web widgets passed through the internet. So here's the app exchange or application exchange through Salesforcecom, providing a whole variety of web widgets that people can download and put onto their computers to work within the framework of the services offered by LinkedIn and Salesforce.com or any of them. In addition, our services would be distributed directly through the public sector agencies that work with small businesses, such as economic development agencies and workforce investment boards. So here's what our widget looks like. As I said, it's a widget passed through Google, Maplets, LinkedIn, Salesforce.com. If we were to take that same question of give me a list of leads that would be perfect for for telecom, voice over IP, so show me the financial services businesses that are small but growing within Silicon Valley. We would handle that through basically fill in the criteria and click. With that first click, you get to where you were with that other one, which is 156 companies. You get that green wedge, but it's still not giving you that golden triangle. If we take that component of time and say which companies have grown over the past 5 years, click, and we get a much smaller result. 25 companies. These are much more valuable leads, and you're able to see what you're getting before you buy it. If we did an apples-to-apples comparison then, if you're charging by the number of records, 25 records times 85 cents equals $16 versus the $133 of the competitor. Then if you take one more step and say, well, we're working through the open social community and connecting through to LinkedIn, in which of these companies do I actually know someone? These become extremely valuable leads then. And then, of course, you're one click away from paying by using something like the Google checkout. So to look at the user experience diagrammatically, this time you have a question, you're able to search, view, and analyze. You get your results, and only after you're happy with your results, then you can decide to download and pay. This leads to a much happier user, as compared to the other experience where the user becomes a victim or a prisoner of the interface. The other way that we're going to distribute this is through selling a subscription, an annual subscription, to agencies that work directly with small businesses, like economic development agencies and workforce investment boards. Basically, the way it'll work is that anyone who works within those walls of that agency or any of the customers that come within the walls of that agency can use it without any kind of charge or anything like that for data downloads. Anybody outside, there would be a small fee if somebody wanted to download some of the data. So the types of features for a more advanced, robust system would be being able to look at data and industry movement across time. So for instance, this is Silicon Valley, Santa Clara County, looking at business services across time through 1990 through 2006. So 1990, 1994, 1998, 2002, 2006. So you get an idea of how the industries are changing and growing within a certain area. In addition, 3D display of data. So here is the bioscience sector. Tells you one thing, a bit about the spatial distribution of the businesses, but it doesn't tell you that much about those businesses. So by just clicking on the 3D button, you get a much better idea of your industry pretty fast. These are the large companies, the fully established companies. This is a very important location in this area for those companies. And these are more or less home-based startups. Of course, you can click on any of them and then get the information from Dun & Bradstreet for those businesses. And then a buffer analysis of being able to click an area and be able to get distribution of what's in that area. So this is an industry distribution for 1 mile radius around that area, 3 mile radius, 5 mile radius. And in addition, parcel-based systems, being able to search for parcels that meet particular criteria, and then be able to click through and get more information, zoom in, and then be able to even link out to a city's zoning code. So now I'm going to show some live demos of these. You can get to any of these through my website, www.theurbanexplorer.com, and go to the products page, and you'll be able to click and see some of these demos. So I have one already loaded. Let's see, because the resolution got changed. Just going to reload that because the resolution. So this demo was developed for the Silicon Valley Workforce Investment Board, several different groups of users, including those folks that were looking for jobs, economic business analysts, and also business development specialists that needed to do outreach to small businesses based upon understanding how they're growing and changing over time. So what you'll see here is a flash interface over the top of a Google map. And these layers are all very interactive. So if we were just to click on an area, what this is doing is pulling up information from a database. So this first button is just the basic information about that area. But then we can click on this button, and this is going to generate a dynamic list from the database of all the businesses in that area from Dun & Bradstreet. So we get this whole list of businesses here that we can then export to our to an Excel spreadsheet. If we wanted to get a different idea of those the distribution of these businesses and what industries they're in, we can click this button. And what this is going to do is give us a dynamically generated industry distribution for that area. So we break it down in all the variety of different industries: bioscience, building construction, business services, given by the number of businesses, the jobs, the average jobs, and the sales of all those businesses. If we wanted to get a more visual representation of that, just click on the chart button and be able to see that in chart format. So we can then also, given that it's flash, be able to put the cursor over the top and be able to get the numbers easily. And then be able to say, given that this is going across time, click on any of these other years and be able to get a different breakdown of how that area looked in a different year. In addition, we can look by count of businesses, total jobs, or total sales, and you'll get a different picture. Now we're looking at count of businesses, but if we chose total jobs, we'll get a different idea. Some of these industries are made up of tiny little businesses. Some of them don't have many businesses, but they're very large employers. In addition, you can look across census information. So, for instance, if we looked at housing and looked at basically tenure, owner versus renter occupied in 2000, and be able to chart that for the area. The other thing that's kind of cool is you can click on different areas and get a quick comparison of how the areas differ relative to each other. And so then, another thing that you can do is zoom out and be able to get a distribution of industries or any of these data sets across time. So for instance, if we wanted to search for across businesses time series, select the business time series, select census tracts, select an industry sector such as bioscience, and say count of businesses, and then select the different years. So 2006, 2002, 98, 92, and 90. And hit go. And now this will map that out across, as a thematic map, across the geography for all of those various years. And given that it's Flash-based, you can then kind of animate that and be able to see how your areas change across time. So this is in 2006. We'll take it to 1990. So when we have this interactive timeline, so we have 90, 92, 98, 2002, and 2006, we can see how an economy is growing. In addition, and I'll show one last thing, is if we wanted to understand these sectors more in terms of how they're distributed and broken down by business, we can say, okay, let's see the bioscience total, the same sector, see what, where those businesses are located. And again, here's the distribution by just dots, but if we were to say, let's show me by jobs, we get a 3D representation of that. Then if we wanted to break this down and say, show me this bioscience sector by different components within that bioscience, different industries, subsectors. So the drugs and pharmaceuticals. So let's see that sector and what does that look like and how many of those businesses and where are they located within this area. Okay. So this is the drugs and pharmaceutical cluster within that. We can take one last one, like medical devices. So it gives you a different idea of how these companies are locating. If we took and look at research and testing, it's a whole different type of company. These, the medical devices are large companies located there. The research and testing is a completely different type of company. So here is the list of research companies within that sector. It's showing a completely different type of company. And I'll just show you quickly one other system that's developed for a different reason. It's a parcel-based system, more along the lines of understanding the properties within an area, a small city, and enabling people to figure out where to locate and where to build. So, if you wanted to see the zoning code, you click on the button and be able to see a distribution of zoning across the area. Interactive map enables you to click on any of them and be able to see, click out to the city zoning code. Be able to see current land uses. And then over the top of that, do a search for particular types of parcels. So for instance, if we were looking for retail commercial parcels of a certain size, so look for all those greater than 50,000 square feet, run the query and be able to see where they are on the map. A different size, 20,000 to 50,000 square feet, run the query, be able to see where they are. Click on any of them and get information about them, be able to zoom in. And get more information and be able to click on top of the map and get more, zoom in further and get the aerial photos. And then if we were to do a kind of a business search for a particular type of business, we can then link out to the Google local search and be able to type in, for instance, look for restaurants in the area, click on it. So this list is brought in from the web, from the Google local search, but if the city happens to have photographs of those particular businesses, then that can be displayed through the interface. So that's my talk, and I welcome any questions that you might have, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. I have the microphone, so.
Are you using the Flash API to speak directly to the Google Maps API?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's communication going back and forth.
Okay, so you've actually implemented all of your Flash API on top of the JavaScript API?
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
Okay. Oh, you got one? Good.
Do you have any applications that allow users to upload their own data to include on a map to analyze with what's on there?
Not yet, but that's in the works. That's something that we want to do. We call it My Map.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, well, thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome. Thank you.